Today we'll be discussing the second prompt for the seventh genetics mini video. Throughout this video, we will mainly be focusing on the topic of DNA fingerprinting as it relates to a murder that has occurred in our town. We will be using gel electrophoresis to help us determine who the murderer is. Gel electrophoresis is a process where DNA is loaded into wells on a gel, and once the machine is running, the DNA fragments begin to run down the gel. The smaller fragments move faster and the larger ones move slower. First, let's meet the people that are at play in the murder. Benny is the son of Jerry, and Rosie and Polly are Benny's two best friends. One day, Benny and Jerry were taking their weekly Sunday hike through the woods of a popular park in town. Suddenly, as they were walking, Benny was stabbed with a knife and died at the scene. Benny's dad calls the police, and when the police arrive, they find a bloody hunting knife and Benny lying dead next to it. After further investigation, they found bloody fingerprints on the hunting knife. They have hired us to figure out who the murderer was. Pictured here is the gel electrophoresis for VNTR of locus 1. To begin analyzing this, we see the two bands that were found on the knife. To start by identifying the murderer, we want to try matching Jerry, Rosie, or Polly's bands to the ones of the knife. We can start by ruling out the fact that it was Benny's fingerprints, as his bands do not align with the ones that were found on the knife. Then, looking at Jerry's, we see that he is a match for the fingerprints found on the knife. Continuing on, Rosie is not a match for the fingerprints on the knife because her bands do not align with those from the knife. Finally, Polly's bands align with the bands from the knife, meaning that the fingerprints could potentially be hers. On this slide, we have the VNTR for the second locus. We will now do the same thing we just did with the first for the second one. Starting with Benny, we know that the knife did not contain his fingerprints since only the top band lines up with that of the knife. Continuing on, we see that both of Jerry's bands match up again. Since his bands matched for loci 1, it is likely that Jerry is the murderer, but we should double check the other two individuals first. Upon further investigation, we see that Rosie's bands do match those of the knife, but her bands at the first locus did not match, so we know that she cannot be the murderer. Finally, we conclude that Polly's bands do not match. The police ask you if we can be sure that Jerry is Benny's father. We know that the children get half of their DNA from their mother and half from their father. With this being said, at the loci, Benny should share one band with his father. Circled in red are the two bands that Benny shares with Jerry at each of the loci. We can conclude that Benny is Jerry's son. These are the references that were used in this PowerPoint.